So I'm here today just to reconnect with the beautiful town of Oberlin and the people and the land here, and also to talk a little bit about regenerative farming, natural farming. The whole theory of it goes back to Fukuoka's one straw revolution and theories of natural farming. In that, no tilling, no pesticides, no herbicides, no chemical fertilizers, and even Fukuoka goes as far as saying no weeding, which to a degree, is true. I like to adapt it to my own experiences as a commercial grower in the Northeast, and there's parts of that I really want to bring with me, and parts of it that I want to adapt a little bit. And maybe laying some plastic mulch isn't the worst thing, when you got to crank out so many pounds of tomatoes, whatever. So, anyways, but under that plastic mulch, you can utilize different things. It's good to use a little bit of everything. And one of the interesting things about the natural farming, the Korean natural farming, is that it's really geared towards utilizing everything you have in front of you and not having to get minerals and nutrients from a mine somewhere in China or somewhere in South America. And that was really attractive to me, because one of the things that I was, when I was farming and using so many pounds of minerals from here and fertilizer from there, it's like, okay, well, this is organic and this is sustainable. These nutrients aren't polluting the earth that I'm putting them into. But what about the process of getting them from the processing plant to the farm? That's a big pathway that's a big carbon footprint, even if it is an organic compound that I'm utilizing. And the philosophy in natural farming is make your own fertilizer from natural materials in front of you that are as effective and cheaper and yield a better result. So that's what I was excited about learning, and this whole past year just been making different inputs from fish guts that I got at the fish market down the road, eggshells that I saved up from my neighbor's hens, and bones from the butcher, or if you're on the farm, from the cow that you slaughter, picking weeds in the garden as the sun is coming up so they're still wet with dew, and then fermenting them in sugar to make an enzyme boosting input. Let's see, there's different, there's an herbal nutrient input, and all of them are based on fermenting the product that you're using in order to extract the compounds, the nutrients that you're using. So eggshells for calcium, animal bones for phosphoric acid, for phosphate, and fish guts and bones for nitrogen. So there's a lot of products out there already. So some people say, well, why not just buy my own, and buy one and not go through all the trouble of making this? Well, some people, maybe like myself, or maybe some other people, are strange enough that we want to have a little extra work and spend a little less money. Because I've seen some of those products out there, and they're very expensive, and they work well, but they're not. They work good, but they're not necessarily the exact strains that are regionally available to you in your own backyard. I was really fortunate. I got into the natural farming via the WWOOF program, or Willing Workers of Organic Farms. And since I'd had about some experience beforehand farming, I wasn't coming in totally fresh, so I didn't want to just go to any old farm. So I did a bunch of research and contacted this guy named John Cavalry on the Big Island of Hawaii. And I said, so, I'm thinking about coming out. And he emailed me back and said, or his wife did, and said, we're utilizing indigenous microorganisms to enhance our soil fertility and revive damaged soil and recover our fields. Like, oh, that sounds pretty interesting. So I called him up, and he said, yeah, we just published this article in Acres magazine. This is Acres USA. It's a very famous magazine, and we've been doing this for a couple years, and the Korean Master Cho is coming over to give a workshop later this month. And I was like, well, this is sounding pretty good. So I looked up his article, his wife's article in Acres USA, and she outlined the process of natural farming that they're switching over to. And I was pretty much sold after that article. And I said, I got to go. This is what I've been wanting to learn. I read Fukuoka's One Straw Revolution and Theories of Natural Farming. I was really looking for that hands-on, direct applications. How do you do this? Yeah, here are these theories and everything and philosophies, and that's great. But how do I do this with my hands, in the soil, on the ground? And, so I went out to Hawaii and stayed with this guy whose nickname is Ginger John, and he's a trip. His farm, it was just beautiful. It was on the Hilo side of the Big Island, which is wet, and traditionally was sugarcane and sweet potato farm. Beautiful red earth, similar to what you might see down south in North Carolina. Very red, mineral rich. But the sugarcane farms had really depleted and poisoned the soil. Sugarcane is not growing there anymore. So there's wild sugarcane in the fields, but otherwise, it's just kind of natural succession of the ecosystem. And so his farm was in these beautiful, beautiful deep red clay soil and overlooked the Hilo Bay, the ocean. I was there in February and saw whales jumping and humpback whales, and it was spectacular. And he was growing all kinds of tropical fruits, papayas and bananas, pineapples, kalo or taro, the traditional staple crop of the native Hawaiians, cassava, sweet potatoes, ginger, turmeric, a bunch of different tropical plants. And he was utilizing these IMOs, the Korean natural farming. And the IMO stands for indigenous microorganism. And his soil was really reviving itself. And it was amazing to see that he'd only been there a few years and there was no earthworms, no life or anything there because the sugarcane fields had pretty much eliminated all of that. And I don't know if they use, what chemicals they use, arsenic and different things as pesticides. And where he had spread IMOs and then mulched, you pull up the mulch and you just see these networks of white hyphae of mycorrhiza and beneficial microorganisms spreading and earthworms. And the life just came right back through these application of the IMOs. And it was pretty remarkable to see, and his crops were growing really well.